Welcome to the Town Board Workshop, Thursday, December 3rd, 2015. Please rise and salute the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Emergency exits are to a right, the door behind the town clerk's office, and also the door you came in. Roll, please.
Councilman DeLango?
Here.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger?
Here.
Supervisor Perotti?
Here.
And Councilwoman DeLeo? And it'll be noted until he arrives that Councilman Perotti is absent.
Okay, make a motion to leave a regular meeting and go into executive session for matters relating to collective negotiations under the Taylor Law. Is there a second?
Councilman DeLango?
Yes.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
And Supervisor Perotti?
Yes.
7:04.
Make a motion.
Oh, yeah. I'll make a motion that we hire, I've forgotten his name. Let's see, I just got his...
Here.
David Wise as our attorney to help us with labor negotiations at a rate of $1.85 per hour, effective immediately.
Second.
I'll second it.
Councilman DeLango?
Yes.
Councilman Hitzelberger?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
Supervisor Perotti? Sorry. Yes.
Yes.
And Councilman Perotti?
Yes.
And then I make a motion that we accept Teamster Union 456 as the bargaining agent for the Highway Department workers.
Second. I second it.
Councilman DeLango?
Yes.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
Councilman Perotti?
No.
Supervisor Perotti?
Yes. Are we all set then? Public comment. Did you want to authorize me or our new council to send a letter to Teamster Unit 456?
I'll make a motion that we authorize the supervisor to send a letter accepting local Union 456 as our bargaining agent.
I'd rather see the lawyer do that so it's done properly.
I'll amend that motion to say that we would authorize the supervisor to sign the letter
Yes.
accepting local 456 as the bargaining agent for the town of Amenia Highway Department workers.
Second.
Councilman DeLango?
Yes.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger?
Yes.
Councilman Perotti?
No.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
Supervisor Perotti?
Yes. Public comment?
Hello, how are you? I'm here to urge the board to consider passing the approval of the sidewalk cleaning. I know there's 2 bids out there, which I've read. In our town of Wassaic specifically, I feel that there's an aging population and already an established walking community of artists and residents that really rely on the clean and safe sidewalks. I think that the shared cost through the community is far lower than what you would see individually to taxpayers. I know for myself specifically, I would have to go and purchase a snow blower. Something I obviously will do if I have to do, but not something I'm excited about. Currently already, because the town doesn't plow the parking lot that it leases from Metro North in front of the Lantern Inn, I have to do that and have contracted in the past to do it, but now I continually do it myself. This is already expensive and a lot of time. So seeing the town remove its responsibility to clean these things is not the direction that I would like things to go in general. In addition, I looked at the bid, and the roads listed in Wassaic that have the sidewalks that should be cleaned don't include Main Street. So if you look at a legal map, I think the Firehouse Road south side is what most people think go in front of the Lantern and Kelsey's, but that's actually Main Street, and the Firehouse Road ends at the post office. So that's just something to note. Other than that, that's it. Thanks for hearing my comment. Appreciate it.
I just want to let you know that regarding whether or not the town board decides to or to not plow, it is still in the code that property owners are responsible for their sidewalks being
Well, as I said
cleaned.
in my comment, that I would be happy to continue to take care of the things I'm already doing, but I encourage the town to contract with someone specifically to deal with the homes that are in foreclosure if they're not going to accept something in its entirety for the towns.
Well, from my standpoint, I'm in favor of doing the sidewalks, continuing to do the sidewalks. I think it's a huge safety issue. Actually, and I'm going to say this again, we need to do exactly what the Village of Millerton's doing. We need to have employees of the town. We need to buy the equipment for them to be able to do it. We need to take care of it ourselves, whether it's under the highway superintendents, whether we give him the extra people, the manpower and the equipment to do the job, that's fine by me. Whether it's the guys that work on the ball fields during the summer, maybe this will be an opportunity to give them some work in the winter. But we need to do something a little bit more concrete than doing this, the contracting out. You know, if we're a walkable community and we're talking about businesses and encouraging growth in businesses. I've seen towns that haven't taken care of their sidewalks where they follow the auspices of the local law that it's the person's responsibility, and guess what? People end up walking down the middle of the road, and that shouldn't happen in Amenia. To do it for 10 years and then just up and stop doing it is just, to me, is unconscionable, especially with the petition that we received from the residents. We need to do right by the people in the community, and I think we need to support the snow removal bid and accept it. But further, I won't be here next year, but the board as a whole needs to solve this problem permanently. And I think the best thing to do is to follow the lead of the Village of Millerton and have guys that are town employees that have the equipment that are going to take care of it.
And all that being said, at the end of the day, it is the property owner's responsibility to make sure that their sidewalk is cleared no matter who does whatever initial clearing or thorough clearing. It's the property owner's responsibility for all 131 properties that have sidewalks in our town. I just want to make that clear.
I also wanted to ask if, I had noticed that we had not included Main Street, which is the center of the hamlet and the most walked portion, I guess. Was that inadvertent, or did we mean to exclude?
We didn't exclude anything. That was the same as the bid last year.
So maybe they were assuming that Main Street is considered
Is
Firehouse
considered
Road.
Firehouse. I think
Okay.
they think it's all one and the same.
All right.
It isn't that nothing changed.
Okay.
My name is Lindsley Chatfield. I live in Dover, New York. I have concerns about this Belafonte industrial composting project that's being proposed. You have a Mr. David Reagan, which is your CAC chairman, on November 18th, 2015. His recommendations were to the town that this project, as proposed at this location, should not be considered by the town board. If the town board does decide to pursue the town's needs to fully analyze the consequences for amending the zoning to allow for new use, there is a prescribed legal process for this, amending the zoning to allow a new usage affecting more than 25 acres, which this is a type 1 action under ShECRA, and will carry with it presumptions that the project will have significant environmental impact, therefore requiring a detailed environmental review. Type of use proposal and the land likely traffic, air, and noise, water quality impacts. But solid waste management is currently specified prohibited, and the use in a direct conflict with the town's adopted policies, documents, and the town's adopted comprehensive plan. That's how I feel about it, and I think our aquifer is going to be in dire straits. This has an impact on it. I would like to drink safe water myself, and all the residents of Amenia, Dover, Pauling, Wingdale. I believe that it's going to impact the aquifer that's be built right on top of it. I would not like to see an entity happen like it did across from the railroad station, where they had to extricate all that hazardous waste, pharmaceuticals, syringes, and that kind of nature were being extricated at an astronomical amount of money, done by the federal government, I understand, and some state funding also took place in extricating that facility, and it took quite a considerable time. I would not like to see this develop into that. Thank you for your time, and you people have a nice evening, and have a good holiday.
Have a Merry Christmas, sir.
Sharon Kroger here. Regarding your resolution at the end of the last board meeting to consider the Belafonte proposal to process solid waste in the town of Amenia, when it is clearly prohibited by our comprehensive plan and zoning, it is very difficult to see why this board would want to take on the extra job, the extra workload of being lead agency in a secret process which would be so unusually demanding and extraordinary, which involves impacts on 2 other towns to the south of us, when you already have soil analysis and materials that show that it's over the drinking aquifer. It's not somewhere else. It's really quite close to where people are taking the drinking water for their wells, including the large well, which is just to the south at Tally Ho. So I could conceive, if you start that process, that you could have anywhere from 50 to 75 older folks come up here and tell you that they're worried about their water supply. How could you want that headache? I mean, you have enough hard work to do. to start that kind of a thing just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And I think there are a number of planners watching. I mean, the professional planners who watch these things can't understand it. In other words, they think you must have been too rushed and forced to make the decision too quickly, and maybe you just didn't have a chance to read your materials. That's possible. Because of the careful examination by the Amenia CIC that the industrial infrastructure of the Bulfamonte plan would endanger the sole source drinking water aquifer shared by 3 towns, Amenia, Dover, and Pauling, this would be so contentious. There would necessarily be legal entanglements of all kinds. I mean, they'd be from well owners, and they'd be from towns, and they might be from organizations. And then you're subjecting the taxpayers to this additional cost to support these activities, because you're going to need environmental lawyers, and you're going to have to put in much more cost on that if you get into something of that kind. So I suggest that you had such a heavy workload in your last meeting. I was very sympathetic. I think everybody was sympathetic. It was a big job, and you sort of had to do that at the last minute, and I think that you didn't have a chance really to sort that thoroughly. So my suggestion at this point in history is that you consider rescinding that previous motion, that you don't ask to be the lead agency in a project of this kind. And certainly you're not being required to. It's something you would be taking on voluntarily, sort of extra. Town boards don't usually do this. I mean, usually your secret is handled by your planning boards, and your zoning boards do their thing. And for you to have to put yourselves in that position just seems to me to be an unusual and irrational, frankly. So I hope that you'll think about it together and come up with another solution. And you can rescind that very easily. It's done all the time in public policy making. Thank you.
Is there any other public comment?
I have one question on that. Denise, is there a reason why we're accepting lead agency on that?
The request of Bulfamonte would involve an amendment of the zoning law, which is within the purview of the town board. That is why the application is submitted to the town board. The resolution that was adopted at the last meeting was only as to the intent of the town board to act as lead agency on that application for the composting, because it would require an amendment to the zoning law. It does not commit the town board to proceed through the entire process if they decide that they don't want to go forward with it. But it's appropriate for the town board to do that because it involves the zoning change.
Okay, so that's why we have to petition for the lead agency.
Well,
Because
they've
it's a
made a
zoning
declaration
change. Okay.
that will be circulated to other interested agencies, one of which would be DEC, because Bulfamonte, as I understand it, and Dave Everett would know more of the particulars, but Bulfamonte, I understand, is already before DEC on the application for a composting facility, but it would require an amendment of the town zoning law, which is within the purview of the town board.
But they're
Not the
going
planning
to
board.
seeker.
Now, a cost, if we do have to get environmental lawyers and stuff like that, that's the applicant's cost, correct?
Right. You
Yeah,
can
it's not
require the
ours.
applicant to post the escrow, and then any attorney's fees or other experts' fees can be charged against that escrow so that the applicant really is bearing that cost.
I think I heard that also, but I think what Sharon was saying is if there was a contamination of the aquifer after they have been granted the operating right to operate there, then the town taxpayers would be charged with the cost of being potentially litigated against for damage to the aquifer or the wells.
But
I think that was what she was suggesting. So no, the applicant takes the cost of all the legal fees involved in the secret process, but after it's been granted and the town grants it and we don't maintain it properly or we don't inspect it regularly and something happens to damage somebody's well, then the taxpayers are going to pick up that cost, right?
But,
Well, I think there would be an action by the homeowners against Bolfamonte if there's a challenge
but there's no
to-
guarantee that we're going to do that.
No,
I mean,
there's no-
the only thing that's happening at this point is that Mr. Bufamonte has to go through the seeker process.
Right.
And
it's-
that's and he's got a long road to hoe. I mean, we're not anywhere near the point of voting on any zoning amendment. We're not
Absolutely
even
not.
close. We're not
But
even
committing,
there.
the applicant to a lot of money.
Why would you take a precious resource as our water supply and even remotely entertain the possibility of a contamination problem? I wouldn't even entertain that. I wouldn't even take the risk of contamination in any aspect. So I don't know why you would want to change zoning laws to accommodate this. What gain does the town really have by having this compost site established in the first place? I don't understand.
Well, whether or not a facility, as they're proposing, and the details would have to come out in the future as that's revealed, whether or not it poses a threat to an aquifer would be the subject of an analysis by experts. You know, they may have a hydrogeologist and other experts.
It's like
that
a
are
guy
gonna render
driving
an
down the
opinion.
road drunk, and you think he's going to get in an accident? Yeah.
Well, we're not making any decisions on the zoning amendment now or for a long time.
I'd like to
in
add
the
that
future.
composting is an agricultural activity, and it occurs on a regular basis with farmers.
Industrial compost.
Right. Industrial is the word. There is a difference.
Well, agricultural is an industrial activity.
Okay, we're not going to make any, we're not going to solve this tonight.
It's not allowed to that scale in Amenia. It's a solid waste operation at that point.
There are a lot of things that aren't allowed in Amenia. Some of them might potentially be bad for the town, but there's a lot of things in this comprehensive plan and master plan that need to be changed because they're too strict.
The seeker process will flesh all of that out. So, I mean,
only as good as
we're
the
not
sit
making
here.
any decisions tonight or in the near future about anything.
Make it go there.
Is there any other public comment?
I just want to make the comment of, I want to make my comment about private property rights. And I understand the concern, you know, but time and time again, the same things are said. Let's see, Silo Ridge, the aquifer, composting, the aquifer. Everything is centered around the aquifer. Well, you know, I know people that have been farming in this area, and I know people that have had, I know that dairy farmers, I know one in particular that's managing their solid waste. And I can say this, there's a point where you need to have a balance. And right now, I see a group of people that have a tendency to be they tend to use the same mantra to restrict people's private property rights. And I understand, you know, the whole environmentalist point of view. They change global warming to climate change to suit their purpose. But in my opinion, being that I grew up on a dairy farm, and I know farmers that have thousands of cows, and they manage their waste. Some of them actually even use it to make electricity. There are ways of doing things that people can utilize, but does it mean that we ban everything? You know, this could actually be, do we really even know what these guys are going to do? It's all conjecture. Let them go through the process like everybody else. And the board and the powers that be will make the decision. People will come to the public comment. They will do their fact finding. They will do their homework. And let it go at that. But to deny people the right to do even the process, to go through the process of being able to utilize their property for their purpose that they purchased it for. That to me is un-American. And this collectivist mentality that is raised its ugly head, yeah, in some ways it's good, but in other ways, it kind of slaps in the face of what this country was built on.
I just want to say two more things. There's a misunderstanding here. What we're talking about is waste products that are coming from Westchester and other locations in large amounts, and that's very different from what a farmer has to deal with in his own situation. Westchester does not allow these kinds of activities, and that is why they're trying to get north of that border. And it would not be a good idea for Dutchess County to just open all the doors and have this in a grand way. But more specifically, I think that instead of seeing the mantra that you're talking about, and I know the mantra you're talking about, the sloganisms about environmentalism, what you're talking about here, if you look at your map very closely, you'll see that the exact location of what they want to put is above a portion of a certain structure in the stone and where the water goes through into the aquifer, which is different from the other part of their lands, which is a different kind of stone. And this has to do with what the geologists know how to talk about. But you'll see the specific diagram of this in your material that came from the CAC. But I doubt if you've had a chance to really look at it closely. So we're talking about whether you're putting it right on this exact aquifer location. It's different from other places and other things. And I think that's what you need to look at.
Supervisor's report. We are continuing to look at the water laws and make any changes that we feel are necessary. One of the things that came up in the water laws was being able to access someone's property to replace a defective or meter that is not working. Basically, this was put in because we do have a meter replacement problem. We had a report for the last billing. There were 22 defective meter letters sent out this past billing quarter of October. Since those, we've heard from 13 customers, of which 11 of those meters have been changed, and 2 more will be changed this coming week. So that leaves 9. 6 of these customers have received 2 letters, the July billing period and October. 6 of them did go to relevy. But the problem is, the reason we wanted to strengthen the laws for the people who are not responding and not getting their meters replaced, and therefore, not paying their fair share and gaming the system. We have a lot of responsible people who, when they do get these letters, they call, they make an appointment, they get their meter replaced. But it's because of the people who don't, who have defective meters and have gotten letter after letter and do not contact the water operator and make an appointment to have their meter either looked at, replaced, or whatever, are the reason that we feel that we have to strengthen this part of the water laws. The old Amenia landfill is still waiting for the final site management plan approval from DEC. The town of Sharon has hired Upcountry to do the weed eating at the site, and they've already mowed it. We're still working on getting RFPs and getting responses from companies who will also take over the well monitoring, the annual report to the DEC, which will be paid for by the town of Sharon under the order of consent maintenance agreement from the DEC. This Saturday, we have a few local events. We have a Silver Tea and Christmas Bazaar from 10 to 2 at the South Amenia Presbyterian Church. And at the Smithfield Church at 4 o'clock, we have a Christmas concert. So we're getting into the Christmas season, and there's a lot of events happening. And the other thing I would like to encourage everyone to do is please shop in your local businesses for that special gift or gift certificate. It's important for us to support our local businesses, whether it be a restaurant or a shop, so that, you know, they continue to survive in the towns. And that's all I have. We don't have a town clerk report or a highway, but we do have a building report. Town board members, please find November's monthly report for the building department as building permits go. We have issued 4 new building permits totaling $859 and 1 renewal permit of $175. We are continuing with certificate of occupancy searches, and for this month we did 5 searches which total $500. As far as fire inspections go, we did 4 fire inspections which total $550. The total for the month is $2,084. Michael Seggleton, Code Enforcement Officer.
Do we know why they're charging different rates for fire inspections for different businesses?
I
Isn't there
imagine
just
he
one
has a
rate?
rate schedule. You'll have to ask him.
From my understanding, one is a 3-year and one is a year.
Thank you, Michael.
Are there any other committee reports? Nothing? Okay. The snow removal decision.
So was the full bid was 10,000 from Al, is it Al Smith?
Yes.
Parameters.
So I would make a motion that we accept the full amount of the bid of $10,000 for snow removal in the hamlets of Wassaic and Amenia and Town Hall.
I'll second it.
We already did the town hall.
I'm sorry, but that
Oh, you mean to include it?
that
Okay,
includes
include all
three
amounts.
items.
Okay, sorry.
It's to accept the bid of $10,000 in addition to,
It's a bid for $10,000 for the removal of the snow at the Town Hall, the hamlet of Amenia and the hamlet of Wassaic.
Microphones, please.
No, there was 2 separate bids. The town hall removal was 1 bid,
Right, that was like 4,000, but we already
4,000,
agreed to
and
that.
I think the
Excuse me,
sidewalk and everything.
Mike
was-
is asking us to speak further into the microphones because he's not hearing it back there.
On this end of the table, way away, please.
Thank you.
Picking up the
does this sound better?
yours much better.
Thank you very much.
So does anybody have the original bid? But from my memory, for $10,000, we would have the Town Hall and the 2 hamlets, two downtown business districts, sidewalks would be cleared.
But we already
Looks like it
accepted
was-
the town hall, though.
Yeah, it looks like it was 4,100 per my notes from the last meeting.
For
This
the
was
town
Al
hall.
Smith and Sons.
Yeah, and then your
And then
optional was
the optional was
10,000 for a
10,100.
total of 14,200.
I see, okay, sorry. So 10,100
Right.
okay, so I amend my motion to accept the $10,100 bid from Al Smith to do Amenia and Wassaic.
And I'll second it.
And did that include salting or anything like that?
Pet-friendly
Under-
salt.
For severe icing. Salt and,
Did we define severe?
Oh my goodness.
The bid specs define what the project would entail.
So no, okay.
Councilman DeLango?
Well, before we vote, again, my biggest problem with cleaning these sidewalks is for $10,000, they cannot be done properly. And for the town of Amenia to go into a liability issue because the sidewalks are not being done properly, this is the problem that I have with the sidewalks. I've been in the center of town now for 23 years. The town has been cleaning the sidewalks for the last 10 years. Before that, the sidewalks in Amenia were never cleaner when the business owners themselves were doing it. Now, I'm out there day in and day out after every snowstorm, making sure the ice is off my sidewalk, making sure I have the banks knocked down so people, when they park their car in the street, they could get to the sidewalk. When we do our bids for the sidewalk cleaning, there is no provision for that big mound to be removed between the parking spot and the sidewalk. So the sidewalk could be as clean as it could be, but you have a 4-foot snowbank to get over from the parking lot. This is the problem that I have with the cleaning the sidewalks. Now, my whole theory is, Stephen has a great theory. Eventually down the road somewhere, the town of Amenia should have a public works department or something like that where we budget into taking care of the sidewalks properly. The problem that I have with this bid, I think it's a $10,000 waste because the sidewalks are not going to get cleaned properly. And we've been seeing that year after year after year. The post office is right in front of my place. Every single winter, every single snowstorm, there's 3 or 4 people that I have to send my guys out there to push them out of the snowbank because they got stuck on the ice or whatever. Again, before the town started cleaning the sidewalks, there was no mounds, there was no ice on the sidewalk. Everybody did their part. If a neighbor had a hard time cleaning the snow and we were on a machine, we went and cleaned the neighbor's sidewalk. It's small town helping small town. And unfortunately, because the town of Amenia is taking on this expense and this responsibility, that is out the window now because everybody says, Amenia took it over. It's their job to clean it. Let them do it.
It's in the law, though, that this is, what we're doing is just the initial clearing, and it's up to each property owner to make sure that the rest of it is cleaned and maintained, and they are responsible for it. All we're doing, in my opinion, is just making sure that at least there's a start, and the bulk of it is removed, and the rest is done by the property owner. It's really just an assistance. It is not meant to be the be-all, end-all. It is just to make sure that there is a good start so that the average person can come out and clean the rest of the way with neighbors or hired help from the neighborhood.
At the end of discussion? Okay, I think everybody said it. Councilman DeLango?
No.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger?
No?
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
Councilman Prody?
Yes.
Supervisor Prody?
Yes. Okay, the last meeting, we had a presentation by Capital Market Advisors. We are going to have to do a bond resolution soon when we get the numbers firmed up for how much this heating system is going to cost. We really need someone, a financial planner, to help us through the process of the whole borrowing process, the bonding and the estoppel and all the steps that we need to take. This company has worked for the town for many years through Sal Panini. It was taken over by, after he retired, it's basically the same company. This process, we are going to need assistance to do it. We need to have a bond resolution prepared by our bond counsel sooner than later if we're going to borrow and get this project done in the spring. So, what do you think?
So what's your question?
I'm asking if if you think we should hire capital market advisors
Yes.
to assist us through this process,
Yes, I do.
because we're going to need the help.
It's a continuation of a business that we've been doing business with for the town. They haven't steered us wrong before. The gentleman's presentation was very tight. The information that he gave to us was, together supported. His prices are in line, yes.
Okay, I make a motion that we hire capital market advisors to assist us with our bond presentation based on the type of bonding that the town is required to do.
I'll second it.
Councilman Delango?
Yes.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger?
Yes?
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
Councilman Prody?
Yes.
Supervisor Prody?
Yes. Okay, I have a few other matters. In your package, you'll find the Justice Court. One thing we have to do, it's a housekeeping thing every year, is send a copy of the audit report to the State of New York Unified Court System. So in order to do that, I make a resolution to accept the Justice Court's records as examined by Cedar and Company.
I'll second it.
This one from September.
Yeah. And then I have the audit report attached. And we just have to send that and the copy of the resolution from the minutes to court.
Councilman Delango?
Yes.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger?
Yes?
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
Councilman Prody?
Yes.
Supervisor Prody?
Yes. And the other thing I have is we have to send in the payment to the New York State retirement system. And if we prepay it, the amount, if we prepay it in December, we'll save $1,034 rather than pay it in February. So I just need approval from the board to prepay the New York State retirement invoice.
Second?
Councilman Delango?
Yes.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
Councilman Prody?
Yes.
Supervisor Prody?
Okay, the other thing I have is I would like to... Oh, I'm sorry, yes.
Yes.
The other thing I have is setting up the reorganization meeting on January 4th at 6 o'clock, which is, that's the first Monday.
Right. 6 o'clock?
Good luck with all this, guys.
You can come if you want.
Oh, no.
Does that meet with everybody?
It doesn't.
Well, we usually have it either at 6 or 7, so it's going to be one or the other.
Looking forward to the holiday lights, though. That's going to be awesome.
As usual, I am available at 7:30.
And the
That
reorg is at
evening.
6 or 7. It was 7 o'clock last year, and it was 6
And I was
o'clock the year
fortunately
before.
on vacation, and fortunately, I was lucky enough to get notice from Councilwoman Doyle of what time the meeting was, as I was never given the notice. This year, thank you for letting me know, I do appreciate that. I am available at 7:30, as you are well aware.
Well, I don't see why we have to schedule the reorganization meeting about whenever you decide you want to show up.
It's not when I decide, it's when Metro North decides.
When would you like to do this, at 7 or 6?
Or 7:30.
Not 7:30.
I'm available anytime. date.
Mike?
I mean, it's a reorg meeting. I think everybody should be here. I mean, I'm okay with any times. I'll make my schedule work. I don't have to travel that far to come here.
Well, our
So-
regular meetings are at 7 o'clock anyway.
And I've made special arrangements to be here at 7 o'clock for the regular meetings.
I mean, what's that, Gretchen, on Thursday?
It's a Monday.
It's a Monday.
No, I know, but you could be here at 7 o'clock on Thursday,
Yeah,
which is the 7th?
yeah, absolutely, not a problem.
I'd rather do the reorg the first.
We need to get it all done.
We need to get
earlier.
it done because people need to take oath of office.
They need to be paid and hourly rates established. I'm fine doing it at 7:30 if that makes it easier. Is it because it's such a long night that we usually start earlier? I can't remember. It is a lot
Yes,
to
it
go
is.
through.
It's a
but-
lot to go through.
Our last couple of nights, we've been getting out of here the next day anyway. I mean, I'm okay with 7:30 too. If that helps, Gretchen, I'll get here on time.
That would, and I'd appreciate it.
Fine
Thank you
with me.
both.
Okay, I make a motion to set the reorganization meeting on January 4th at 7:30.
I'll second it.
Councilman Delango?
Yes.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger?
Yes?
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
Councilman Perotti?
No?
And Supervisor Perotti?
Yes. Is there any other public comment? No, town board
For
comments?
other matters also regarding the reorg, it would be helpful, I did get a note from someone in your office requesting that I essentially give a decision as to how I would like it was specifically for the liaison information and what I would like, you know, as far as committees go, what my preferences were. As far as I understand, having that type of discussion is supposed to be conducted in an open meeting, to be giving preferences and decisions and things like that. And email is against the open meetings law.
I don't
which
think
is
so.
why
Oh,
I
it
did,
is.
which
It's
is,
speaking as
excuse
a
me,
liaison.
Mrs. Parati, I am speaking.
Well, finish speaking, but nothing's changing.
Which is against the open meeting law, which is why I haven't responded. What I would recommend be done for positions, non-paid positions, is that, like we do with many of the resolutions, just a blank be drawn in, and then we can go ahead and fill it in at the time of the meeting.
Duly noted. Is there any other town board comment?
I'll mention that I had sent to Dawn Marie and I believe the rest of the town board a copy of the additional schedules for the dance and theater arts rehearsals. There'll be extra times that they'll be using the auditorium, and I believe that's not conflicting with anything. So we're going right ahead with the performance, which will be held, and we're looking very much forward to it on Saturday, December 12th at 3 o'clock at the auditorium. Please come out and give these young folks their support. They have been working very hard since mid-September, working from 10 o'clock until 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. They'll be working on Fridays and Saturdays right through. They worked on Thanksgiving weekend, and they would appreciate a big, enthusiastic audience. And they're very, very talented, and I'm very, very proud of our youth in Amenia. They're talented and they're committed and they know how to work really, really, really hard. So I'd really appreciate your support. It's a free, of course, and it's the beginning of our Holiday of Lights program. And I know Stephen is looking very much forward to it, but all of us are too. We're doing some Christmas decorating final touches down at Fountain Square from 4:30. We'll do some caroling and lighting of the lights down there, and at the same time at 3 o'clock at Monty's they're going to be doing a lot of pony rides and free champagne toast and a ribbon cutting and Mark Molinaro, all kinds of different things happening right across from the firehouse on Mechanic Street and East Main, so at Monty's Health Nut Hut. And at 4 o'clock, if you're doing a lighted parade, you're going to be in the parade, then you line up at the firehouse, and that steps off promptly at 5 o'clock and travels along East Main Street down to Broadway, back to Route 22 and up to Town Hall, and delivers Santa to the Town Hall, where he will be greeting children and having his photo taken, and gifts will be given to the children here. So it's a full slate of activities that we're trying to host for the whole town-wide celebration. And in that line of thinking, we'll also be giving out the Citizen of the Year Award. And I know I've had a couple of suggestions, and if those could be forwarded to me through your town board member within, let's just say, by Sunday, so I can start working on those awards, that would be great. Is that enough time for people to forward their ideas?
Yes.
Okay. That's all I have.
Is there any other town board comment?
Motion to adjourn.
Victoria, did you want to talk about the resolution regarding the Cablevision matter?
Yes, go ahead.
We didn't even get that until late this afternoon. I haven't had a chance to review. I have a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
I don't know what you want to do with this.
That's the one that you gave us. Now, is that to set up this public hearing?
Yeah.
Right, I had sent the email out. I reviewed
Do we
the
need,
existing...
do we have a second for the motion to adjourn? I don't think so.
I was trying to find out.
Okay. Okay, motion fails. Go ahead, Denise.
I reviewed the existing franchise agreement that the town has with Cablevision. There is a provision in there that if Cablevision is going to transfer the ownership, it would have to get the consent of the town. There is a provision that that consent would not be unreasonably withheld. At the last meeting, the town board reviewed a proposed resolution that was forwarded by Cablevision, and there is some language in there that, I take issue with, as far as the board representing that it's concluded certain things as to their financial and legal condition. I have had a conversation with Mr. Connor from Cablevision about what I've reviewed so far. The merger agreement is very lengthy. The FCC Form 394 that's been filed with the town, along with its exhibits, consists of this, which is very extensive. There are hundreds of pages here, so I kind of reviewed the existing agreement and the basic FCC form. I have spoken with the State Public Service Commission, and I was advised by legal counsel there today that they do not require that particular language that, I have an issue with. The attorney was not aware whether or not the FCC requires it, so I did ask Mr. Connor if he would provide to me the language that he is claiming exists, that specific language would have to be in the resolution by the town board.
What's the difference between the language?
The language that we discussed at the last meeting pertained to stating essentially that the town has reviewed the application, followed all required procedures in order to consider and act upon the application. considered the comments of all interested parties, which we haven't had a public hearing on it, and concluded that the acquirer has the legal, financial, and technical qualifications of acquirer to indirectly control franchisees. So there's this language that the town board has made these conclusions on the legal, financial, and technical qualifications of the transferee. It's my opinion that the board shouldn't make that representation. I don't think you really have the basis for it at this point to make that conclusion. And if it's not required, it doesn't need to be in the resolution. And I would be very surprised if they come back with a law that says it has to be in there.
Now, again, it says in the resolution right here, if the municipality fails to render a final decision on the request for a change of control or assignment within 120 days after receipt by the municipality, such request should be deemed granted unless the franchise and municipality jointly agree in writing to an extension of time. So what does that mean?
That is the language out of the franchise agreement. In other words, if they're transferring ownership through a merger, and there is an existing franchise agreement with the town in place, so they are bound by those provisions in the agreement. And under that, where was the spot that you were reading? Okay. So in that, the agreement specifies that if you don't render a decision on, doing this resolution, consenting to the change of ownership within the 120 days, then it would be deemed to have been granted. Obviously, Cablevision would like to have the town give its consent.
Okay. Now, we voted on this and we voted no, not to accept this.
This is a different one. The one that the town board discussed at the last meeting was the form that was proposed by Cablevision. That was the one that we discussed. We discussed this language, and the board...
But we voted on this and we voted it down.
And then it was rescinded.
It was rescinded at the last meeting.
What you voted on was not to accept this language in the resolution. At the last meeting, the board rescinded it because Cablevision was concerned that that would somehow be the board's disapproval of the merger. That is not what the board did. They didn't disapprove of the merger. They didn't deny their consent. They didn't agree to adopt this specific language in the resolution that Cablevision
But what is
proposed.
this resolution saying? I mean, what are we voting on?
This resolution, it goes through, it outlines the existing agreement,
Which we voted on in 2008 and accepted it.
2009.
2009.
It was approved.
Okay.
And then it goes to Cablevision's request on October 30th, asking for the town's consent to the merger. It goes through the terms of the existing franchise agreement, and then it would be resolved. This is a seeker determination that the board's consideration of this and a vote of either you're going to approve it or you're not going to approve it would be a type 2 action under seeker, which would not require additional seeker review. And then this would also would authorize the town clerk to post a notice as to a public hearing to be done on a particular date to hear public input and comment on this, following which then the board would make its determination whether it wants to consent on that merger.
What is the public hearing required?
Well, I would say this. When the franchise renewal agreement was done and approved in 2009, a public hearing was held to afford the public comment because this is a service that is provided to the community. It's your Cablevision service, whatever else you get through Cablevision, whether it's telephone or internet. So if you're going to consent to a transfer, I think you should afford the public the right to comment on that. If you pass this resolution tonight, you can authorize the clerk to post the notice of a public hearing. You could do the public hearing at the next meeting. Obviously, Cablevision is pushing. They would like to get the town's consent.
Why do we have to go to a process of having a public hearing on something we already voted on? Basically, it's just a name change on the company.
No, it isn't a name change.
It's
It is
another
a
company
merger.
being bought out.
It is a
So-
takeover of control of your Cablevision provider.
Okay.
So the service will be provided
Is there
through the
another
control
Cablevision
of a
provider
different
in this
entity.
area?
At this time, I don't know, but the
No,
town,
there's not. So we
this is not an exclusive agreement, the franchise agreement, so that, let's say Verizon Fios came out here, they extended their lines. The town does have the option of giving out another franchise agreement to another company.
But the bottom line with this is Cablevision merging with the new company.
It's merging with a Netherlands corporation as the parent and a subsidiary of the Netherlands corporation, Neptune.
And basically, what the resolution was doing was saying that our existing franchise would stay intact when this new company took over.
They take over the rights and obligations under that agreement. So the control is with Altice NV, which is a Netherlands corporation, and its subsidiary, Neptune, which is a Delaware corporation.
So all they really want us to do is consent to the merger.
That's what they're asking for. But there are representations in their proposed resolution that they want the board to essentially agree to. That you've concluded that the acquirer has the legal, financial, and technical qualifications to indirectly control the franchisee.
So we have to get a financial advisor to look over that document to see if they're able to afford Cablevision or able to provide service?
It's legal, financial, and technical qualifications. I spoke with the legal department at Public Service Commission of the state. They are reviewing this, however, they will not be rendering a decision until April 29th of 2016. So obviously you won't have the benefit of their determination.
But it goes in
At this
automatically after 120 days anyway.
Right, there's a difference between consenting to something and not objecting.
But it still happens anyway.
Right, but you haven't consented to it. It's just you've essentially acquiesced.
So basically, we need to decide whether to approve the original resolution or this one without that particular language.
Make a motion to approve the original resolution.
Well, we don't have to sign it. The original resolution.
This one, you're talking about the Cablevision proposal? It's not in complete form.
So only yours is in complete form.
We'd have to do this next. Yeah.
Can we wait a meeting on this, or do you want to do it?
Motion to adjourn.
It's a mountain out of a molehill.
I agree with you. It's definitely not out of moment.
Why don't we just accept the one that doesn't
But then you have to have
the
a public
language?
hearing and everything.
I'm just table it to the end of the 120 days.
That's what we did the following meeting.
we don't want to
We
table
voted
it.
no on it the following 3 meetings ago.
I would do the public hearing as our lawyer recommended.
All right, let's just, okay. We need to.
I'll make a motion that we accept the amended contract that Denise prepared.
It's
And
it's a resolution. I need to read it and we need to vote on it.
I don't
Okay.
get that till late this afternoon. I haven't had a chance to review that, but I'd be happy to offer to table that up and do it next week, 2 weeks from now, rather,
is that a
at the next
motion?
meeting.
I'll second that.
I'm sorry, you're seconding the motion to accept?
I
or
guess that
second the
was
table?
Table.
We're going to table it
We're
till
tabling.
7.
Tabling.
we're gonna
Making a
table it.
motion to table in a second.
So this is a
That was
fail.
Gretchen that did that.
Okay, and Gretchen Made a motion, and did
I seconded it.
to table the
The
Cablevision
Cablevision
resolution.
resolutions.
Okay. Councilman Delango?
Yes.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
Councilman Perotti?
Yes.
Supervisor Perotti?
Yes.
Make a motion to adjourn.
I second that.
Trust me, we're all in favor.
Do I have to do it?
Just say all in favor.
All in favor of adjourning the meeting?
Aye.
I need you to sign